Whether you've lived in Florida your whole life or you're new to the Sunshine State, you've probably learned to sink or swim with all things under the Florida weather umbrella.
Hi.
So when the forecast called for a wet week ahead, Floridians did what they do best, take it in stride. But when nearly a foot of rain fell in just hours over some parts of South Florida, even the most seasoned natives were all wet.
If you want, we can take you to high land.
The tropical disturbance known as 90L triggered a rare flash flood emergency warning across the tip of the state on Thursday. Parts of South Florida were already hit by heavy rains and flooding earlier in the week. At the height of the worst flooding, the Miami Weather Service office issued increasingly dire warnings.
There's areas that easily have 5 feet of standing water. So these vehicles are built and equipped to be able to handle that type of water depth. So we're getting the crews that need to go in to perform these rescues and or treat these patients into the areas that they need to get into.
The relentless string of powerful storms super soaked much of waterlogged Florida, prompting Governor Ron DeSantis to declare a state of emergency for several counties across the state. In addition to the governor's emergency declaration, Miami-Dade's mayor, the city of Miami's mayor, as well as Fort Lauderdale's mayor individually issued emergency declarations for their cities because of the onslaught of torrential rain and flooding. Further north, the National Weather Service in Melbourne confirmed that an EF1 tornado hit Hope Sound just north of West Palm Beach on Wednesday morning. While no one was injured, widespread damage was reported from multiple severe storms. Over 25 inches of rain has fallen in some parts of South Florida since Tuesday. Just take a look at some of these epic rain rates. Over 25 inches in parts of southwest Florida. But some of those really big numbers stay right in the Everglades and then back towards the east, where Miami got over 13 inches of rain, over 14 inches of rain in Fort Lauderdale, and just over a half of a foot of rain in the Palm Beaches. The plume of deep tropical moisture started to push across South Florida midweek as Invest 90L left a calling card of flooded out cars, evacuations, and a logistical travel nightmare in one of the busiest parts of the country. Dozens of flights were delayed or canceled at Fort Lauderdale and Miami's international airports, stranding tens of thousands of travelers. Saturated air is still draped across the southern part of the state, including the Keys, which means it won't take much to trigger additional storms over the weekend. This additional heavy rainfall could be a nightmare for residents trying to regroup after the week's deluge. Over 6 million people were still under a flood watch Friday night across southern Florida, including metro areas of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Fort Myers, and Naples. The Miami to Fort Lauderdale corridor remains highly vulnerable to flash flooding. It could take only a quarter inch of rain in just 1 hour to spark new flooding, as the ground is still heavily saturated with little time for water to recede. Florida's flooding is being hailed as a 1 in 1,000 year rain event in some parts of the state. The juxtaposition of disorganized showers and storms comes at the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season, which could be one of the busiest seasons yet. If this past week is a spoiler alert of what could be on the horizon, Floridians are now ready. I'm Leslie Hudson reporting.